tunnel vision inside, 'cause you're just not right, though it feels so right. Maybe if these things were different from all, can't help but fall, baby. It's just not fair, 'cause we seem to be the same.
All right. So self-care, right? It's kind of like a buzzword now. People have like self-care Saturdays, self-care Sundays. But I want to know what is your self-care routine?
Well, for me, I like to cover all the wisdom that shows in the front, so I do like to dye my hair. I personally like to give myself my own little manicures because nobody does my nails. You know, I mean, all the average female stuff, personal facials.
You get them toes done.
I do keep them toes done.
Toes
okay,
done.
yes. Y'all, can we close in on the toes? No, wait. Those physical things, you know, my mother was one, like, she always did the extra when it came to her outward appearance, so I, in turn, do the extra when it comes to my outward.
What about you, Sarah?
For me, I like to dance in front of my mirror, you know. I like to do my hair, get my hair done in different styles. Y'all may have seen my hair has been like kind of different every episode. But I like to get my hair done. I like to speak positivity over myself, my son. Anytime my son is taken care of, that's a form of self-care for me.
Okay.
It just hit different.
Right.
So many different ways. What about y'all?
I'm gonna let Aaron go first, cause.
All right. Y'all didn't say brush your teeth.
Oh my God.
Here you go. Oh my God.
This man's like an advocate for brushing your teeth in the morning.
We know
but-
you have a beautiful smile, Aaron. Goodness.
Go ahead and show it and add a ding like a
Yes.
Yeah, but for real, bro, what's your self-care routine?
I brush my teeth. I brush my hair.
Yeah, you do. Not the way
Okay.
Yes, proceed.
Somebody laughed over there. Somebody laughed. No, I brush my teeth. I brush my hair. I'm trying to do better with oiling my feet and oiling my body, period.
Okay.
But yeah, I do that. I work out. I think that's a part of self-care.
Yeah, for sure.
It's good for the mental. It's good for the heart. What else do I do? Sometimes I walk. Like when I don't have a client or anything like that, I'll take my dog and just go on a walk around the neighborhood. What else? Eat good sometimes. Sometimes when
Balance.
Yeah, balance.
There you go.
What else? I do my nails sometimes. I don't do my nails, but I go and get them done. Manis, pedis, all of that good stuff.
Stayed up.
What else? I shower. Yeah.
I feel like those are the basics.
There's some people.
But they're necessary.
No, there's
They
some
are.
people. There's some people that don't shower.
Nah, for real.
There's some people that walk around stink. But I'm not gonna point any fingers.
They feel like that's self-care though.
Huh?
They feel like that is self-care though.
So they're not taking care of themselves and they stink.
Oh, goodness gracious.
But okay, those are all good points. Moisturizing,
Yeah. I
manicures.
take care of my beard too.
Oh yeah, definitely the beard
Y'all
got to
beard's
stay.
shining, we
The
see it.
beard got to be moisturized for
Yeah.
sure. I feel like a lot of the same ones you said I use too.
Used to?
No, I still like I implement those in my life too.
He used to brush his teeth. He
No.
used to shower.
No, I think for men it's important to
Yeah.
you know take
Facials.
care of your face.
Facials.
I don't do those as often.
Come on, man.
I mean, I just don't do them as often.
Oh, I thought you were
I
saying
mean,
something like you're
like,
against facials.
No, like I like to get massages.
Okay.
You know, acupuncture. I was doing acupuncture for a while.
Yeah, you told me
How
about
is
that.
that?
Acupuncture is actually really good. It's an ancient practice that people still use today. And I feel like people should use it more. It helps activate blood flow and the energy that's within what they call it chi within to heal certain areas of your body.
Okay.
Cold baths.
Cold baths.
Yeah, ice baths.
Nah, you missed me with that one. But I think you and I have some similar self-care routines. But I want to know, what are some of your spiritual self-care routines?
I've been doing a lot of grounding meditation lately, like going outside, literally taking off my shoes, sitting in the earth, connecting with earth, you know, as we're supposed to. And really just my meditation spiritually looks different. It depends on what spirit tells me I need.
Right.
So 9 times out of 10, it's me going outside to sit in the grass. But if it's not meditating, it could be me as I've said before, I'm on this quest to activate my divine femininity, period. And it could be just me going to sit in the grass and like listening to like soft sensual music and like, you know, just moving around. And as the people drive by and look at me half crazy, I don't care because I still continue to do it. Looking in the mirror, speaking positive to myself. Don't let me be half naked and looking at myself. Hello. But loving on all my perfect imperfections, you know, the stretch marks on my breasts, my fupa, you know, the way, you know, I don't have a Coke bottle shape or whatever, but still loving all of me and, you know, saying, Fiona, I love you, hugging myself, you're beautiful, you know, things of that nature. Like I said, whatever spirit tells me I need, you know, I do for myself so that I can make sure that I'm balanced.
Yeah.
Right. For me, it's kind of similar in a lot of ways. I do, like I said, I be in my mirror, I dance. I speak positivity over myself, my household, my son. I journal a lot. I have a dream journal. I journal personal experiences, interactions that I have with people, things like that. I've been working more towards meditating. This is the best way for me to put it. I've been in spaces where meditation has been pushed heavily. So naturally, by me being in like those type of spaces, I've been meditating more. I pray more, and just being more intentional overall, like just with decisions, choices, like how I'm taking care of myself overall. Like the intent has been a lot more focused.
When you say meditate, do you go? I was meditate.
I meditate. I make sure that I don't want anything. So I make sure I'm not hungry. I make sure I'm not tired. All of those things, because if you're attempting to go into meditation and you're hungry or you're tired or there's something that you need, it's going to be harder for you to tap in. So I just make sure that there's nothing that I'm needing, nothing that I'm wanting in that moment. And I take the time and I meditate. And every day I attempt to meditate longer and longer. And I meditate in different ways. I may lay down. I may sit up. It just depends, honestly.
What's your purpose in like what do you do to meditate?
So
if somebody's watching, they say, she meditates. Okay, what do you do to meditate?
So the way that I start off my meditation is by analyzing my body. So I start most of the time from the tip of my toes to the top of my head. So I'll make sure I feel every part of my being, every part of my frequency from the tip of my toes to my head, or I may start from my head to the tip of my toes and really kind of like scan my body. And like then that. From there, it just kind of get me in my zone.
Yeah.
So do you have to feel your toes to meditate?
It's just a sense of knowing your body and acknowledging the different parts of your body.
So you could go like this with your toes?
You're so extra. He's extra. Like, somebody get him.
I actually can't do that.
I mean, for me, when I meditate, I just have to organize my thoughts. And because I don't know for you guys, but there's usually like so many open tabs in your mind, and I try to like close each one. Because you know, like you can close the entire browser, or you can just close the tabs individually. And I just try to go to the tab that is like, okay, what am I feeling right now? Right. You know, and that's how I try to like bring care to myself. Like, yo, how are you feeling right now in the midst of everything that's happening, in the midst of everything that's going on? And I think that's a good thing to be aware of is your body. Yeah. You know, because one thing in meditation that sometimes I struggle with is finding that where you're comfortable. Because like I'm not as flexible, so I have a hard time sitting like with my legs crossed. So I just so I just find like I'll be on my knees, or I'll just sit in a space where I can be, you know, comfortable, where I don't feel discomfort, where I don't, like you mentioned, I don't need food, I don't need water. All I just need is my thoughts, and then, you know, God and the source in self. I think meditation is a great spiritual self-care practice, but I don't think it's something that we always, I mean, I'm gonna speak for myself, it's not something that's easily to be consistent with, especially with all the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm trying to get into, I guess you call it meditation, because the word talks about meditation and meditating on God's word. I'm trying to get into the practice of waking up. Like my girlfriend, she tells me I need to wake up and chill for a second. And I'm always on the go, always on the go. Clients, 6 o'clock, all right, I gotta be up at 5:30. And that's not enough time to sit
Right.
and
Yeah,
just
definitely.
chill and just like, all right, God, all right, what do you want me to do today? What do you want me to wear? God, who do you want me to speak to today? And that's a form of meditation. And I'm trying to get into it, but I'm always moving. So for me, spiritually, my self-care would come from reading my word and talking to God. And a lot of us sometimes get prayer mixed up with other things. Prayer is a simple conversation with
Right.
God. Hey God, good morning. I feel like this today. Like I may be sad, I may be upset, but that conversation is prayer. And I think that that's a good form of self-care, because you know how you're feeling and you know your source, the power that you go to, that you're connected to, and just to say, this is how I'm feeling, God, or God help me, or this is what I need right now. Show up, show me, stuff like that. That's my way of showing that I love myself, to be in tune with myself, to know what I need when I need it.
What you said about always being busy and being active, I think that sometimes interrupt our self-care routine.
Definitely.
As much as
Yeah.
we want to talk about how, oh, we have this great routine, I get my hair done, my nails done, some of those things are pretty vain, let's be honest, right? But like the true work that we need to do on the inside is sometimes interrupted by like our busy schedules, the things that we're doing, the priorities we have, the anxieties that we have. So like, how do you bring yourself back to the center? How do you bring yourself back to, back to like, cause I know it gets, like you have a son, right? There's, sometimes you can't think for yourself,
Yeah.
you gotta think for him first. Like, how do you bring yourself back to you?
So a lot of people may not agree with this because of how you just worded that, but I do always make sure I put myself first. So given, yes, in a life or death situation, yes, my son always come first. But in order for him to be happy, because right now he's 5 years old, the only thing that he knows is the things that he like, the things he dislike. Is my mommy happy? Is my daddy happy? Is the people around me happy? So as long as he know, like, my mommy is happy and she's doing things that she enjoy, things that she like, then he benefits from that.
Right.
So I have to make sure at all times that I'm putting my mental, my physical, my spiritual, all of that first. And a lot of the times people have this saying, oh, my kids come first. But a lot of those times, and no offense to anybody out there who live their life like this, but I would very much so encourage you to practice this more. But you know, a lot of the times people who normally say, oh, my kids come first, my kids this, my kids that, they're working jobs that they don't want to work, they're doing things that they don't want to do, they're stressed out, like, it's a lot that come with that. So for me, I've learned to put myself first, and my son benefit from that. If mommy happy, he's gonna always be happy. Let's go do this, let's get this done, let's get that done, like, we're good. So the ways that I go about doing that is honestly dancing. If I'm not dancing, if y'all are ever around me and I'm not dancing, especially when there's, like, say for instance, like a group of people dancing and I'm just not participating in that, something's off. Something is wrong if I'm not dancing. So the way I always bring myself back is I have a conversation with myself and with God through dancing, because sometimes I don't always have the words, but I have the movement.
I don't
Go ahead.
I can't really agree with that. With
What?
the,
Agree with what?
The fact that you put yourself before your child. I mean, I'm not saying, it was just a different viewpoint. I believe that, for one, our children are supposed to be better than us, right? So you make sure that your child is good first, and then you're good. If you say, oh yeah, I'm gonna take care of myself first, I'm gonna go, we could bring it to whatever level. We could say, oh yeah, I'm gonna go buy myself a Gucci bag, and then my son is raggedy.
No, you're talking.
that's very vain.
No.
You're
You're
speaking
talking about it from a
materialistic.
different standpoint. I'm talking about it from the sense of spiritual. So the way that you just said, like, in order for him to be good, I can't pour from an empty cup, even if it is my kid. Like, I can't. Like, it's not possible to do so. If so, I'm giving him something that's not real. It's fake. He's gonna feel that. He's gonna know that. So, for example, with my son, if I'm not having a good day, or if I'm feeling something, he can tell.
Oh, yeah.
I can't even front to him and be like, oh, I'm not feeling this way. my son is very smart. He's gonna know what's going on.
So do you guys feel like your parents operated in a sense where they put themselves before their kids?
I don't know what my parents were doing, to be honest.
I think my parents did everything in their power to make sure that we were good, and then they could chill. As long as my kids have all of the necessities they need, we're good.
My parents were good providers, but they weren't good nurturers. So I'd much rather have a nurturer than a provider, because just, I know how it's affected me in my life, and the mistakes that I've made, because they didn't give all that nurturing that they needed to give at those necessary stages early on in life. So I can fully support you on making sure that you're good spiritually, because like you said, you can't pour from an empty cup, and I've had them trying to pour out just eternal emptiness onto me and my sisters, and I didn't benefit from that. So I wish they would have taken care of self and home more. Besides, you got nice clothes, you got this, you got that, whatnot.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead, bro.
I was gonna say some people provide, some people nurture, and their nurturing is a way of provision, if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying, but that's not healthy though. You're basically buying me off,
Not buying you off. It's if I make sure that you have everything you need and you're good, you're set. And it doesn't necessarily have to be clothes and stuff like that. It could be a roof over your head. It could be shoes on your feet. That's nurturing.
To an extent, but if that's all that you're providing, you're still buying me off. You're not nurturing me. Yes, I appreciate the clothes on my back, the food on my plate, but if you're not feeding into me, telling me that I'm beautiful, telling me to look at myself in such a way, telling me to put myself on this pedestal, to honor myself, to honor, how good is that doing me if I'm not receiving that? I need that, especially as a child. You need that type of love and nurturing, and unfortunately, I didn't get that from them. They didn't know, and I now understand, as I've said before, I know why, because it's something that they didn't receive. Yeah. I don't blame my parents, for anything. I'm not upset with them. Rest in peace. I love them, and I wouldn't change, as I've said before, I wouldn't change my story and everything that I went through, but I wish they would have given me those nurturing things.
So I kind of want to pivot. How does self-care manifest in our relationships? Because how you take care of yourself is a reflection of how you would take care of others. Because we're talking about our parents, right? They can only give us what they had. And if they weren't having anybody pour into them, or they don't set time for themselves because of the busy life they had to live. Some of our parents had to work 2 jobs. Right. And some of our parents had demanding schedules where they couldn't really implement self-care. Like, it would be a rare occasion where I would see my mom get her hair and her nails done sometimes, just because she was so busy grinding. And my dad always kept a fresh cut. In between everything, dude was always spinning. But at the same time though, I think about how we are, right? How do we, if we interrupt our self-care routine, how does that affect our external relationships? Whether it be at work, whether it be with romantic relationships, how does that affect us?
I mean, for me, because I'm very intentional when I spend time with my friends. Like I said, even when we get together and I bring hookah over and I set it up, that is me being attentive to y'all. That is my act of service to y'all. That is a way of me serving y'all. So if I don't do that for myself, I slack in other relationships and not serving. Because, like you said, kids notice everything. Y'all know Mason. Yeah. So if I'm off, TT, what's wrong? Why you look like this? So I always have to intentionally make sure I take care of myself, because I never want him to feel that energy, because it does. It reflects in my personal life and my personal relationships, and I don't want any of my loved ones to ever feel that.
I would say for me, anytime where I'm not pouring into myself how I need to, I always go through a period of isolation. And it's not isolation, because I'm gonna be wrong, it's always necessary to be by yourself, but I notice that isolation stems more from me having anxiety, because I get around people and I may feel like I'm doing too much, or I'm not doing enough, or something like that. So anytime in my personal life where I'm not doing enough for myself, when I get around others, or if I'm in a relationship or whatever the case may be, I get in my head. So I have to make sure that I'm being very intentional with myself and what I have going on, in order for me to be able to thrive in my relationships or my friendships or whatever. So.
Sorry.
COVID.
Yeah. You need a COVID test? No.
She does.
I think For me, the reason why I would ask that question is because my self-care routine became more important when I saw how it was affecting my other relationships. You know, because when I wasn't really paying attention to self, when I wasn't praying, when I wasn't meditating, when I wasn't even grooming myself, I realized that it affected the people around me. And it also affected how I saw myself. It also affected how I talked to myself. Because I think a big part of self-care is a lot of people they immediately think about the physical things, right? The very vain things, like getting your hair done, making sure your clothes are great. But how are we on the inside? How are we speaking to ourselves on the inside? And then how is it reflecting to others, you know? Especially in like romantic relationships.
Right.
If you don't have a good relationship with yourself and you try to make up for it in a romantic relationship, what you're gonna end up doing is you're trying to technically people please so that you can get the love that you wanted to get for yourself.
Trauma bonding too.
Right. And you try to get these connections that are very temporary and then they leave you more empty inside. Then you gotta go back into the mirror and tell yourself, I don't like what I see. And then you either repeat a cycle or you make a change, you know? And I feel like self-care, we need to look at it on a deeper level. And I think the word I always think about is introspection. Like how often are we going on the inside and looking ourselves in the mirror and doing that pulse check. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Are you happy with yourself right now? Are you happy with your current situation? Having that conversation with God too.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that's that number one conversation. I think there's a lot of conversations we try to completely avoid with God.
I second that notion, brother. I noticed big time, and I'm learning slowly in this relationship that I'm in. When I was trying to muscle up in a relationship and trying to handle things on my own and not talking to God, I found myself frustrated. And when you're frustrated, you take it out on everybody else because being frustrated is, you could call it hurt, and hurt people hurt people. So I'm learning to, and I know it was a painful process. I'm sure Kayla could speak on it, but the process of taking God out and then trying to bring him back in, oh man, I messed up. God hadn't consult you, God hadn't talked to you, God hadn't run this by you. Because God is in control. He made us and he created us in his image, so we have to report back to him. Not like, well, I was gonna say not like a job. It is a job, and you have to stay connected to that power source. And I noticed like big time, doing some self-reflecting, that I need God more than anything. And in all of my relationships, if I can't go to God and say, God, this person is bothering me, this person is hurting me, this person said this to me, then I'm selling myself short.
And then you internalize it.
And I internalize it. Ephesians 5:29 says, for no one ever hates his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as Christ does the church. So I refuse to take it out on myself anymore, because it's not my battle. So I really have to be in contact with God daily. And it's very important. And I should have listened to Kayla when she told me to just chill when I wake up and talk to God, because when my self-care is interrupted, everybody else feels it. Everybody else feels it. And even like a haircut, I'm dealing with clients all day. But if I don't get a haircut, it's not that I feel ugly or anything like that. I know I'm a handsome guy, but
Say that.
no,
Humble thyself.
When I don't get a haircut, I feel like, Aaron, what are you doing? What are you doing? You have, and I don't think it's vain, but I have an image to show. Like being a trainer, I can't look scruffy, and I can't have my belly all the way out here. And
There's nothing wrong with the belly.
You ever seen a trainer?
I have seen some trainers with bellies.
Yeah. I'm not going to them. I'm looking for the dude that looks like he trains, looks like he works out, but that's a part of my self-care regimen. So I think it's real important, that the spiritual part and the physical part, and you tie them in, and you become greater than yourself. And
they reflect in your relationships.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be family, friends, romantically, how you take care of yourself is going to be a reflection. And I want to make this point about how self-care is part of our purpose. Right. Because we were designed to love. And if you can't love yourself first,
Can't love anybody else.
you can't love anything else. You can't love anybody else.
It's gonna be forced.
It's gonna
Right.
feel forced, right? It's gonna feel artificial, and it's not. It's always gonna be temporary.
You're gonna get caught up in a routine of a person rather than actually loving that person for who they are. Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've struggled with that.
Yeah.
Where when I was in a stage where I wasn't really happy with myself, I tried so hard to kind of, like what's it called when the two magnets are trying to come together, like the thing with the north and the north magnet come together and they keep
North and
repelling.
south.
Yeah.
North and they just keep repelling. Like you try to bring yourself closer to something that it's like, yo, get closer to yourself first before trying to stick onto anybody else, because what you're gonna end up doing is you're gonna end up hurting someone else.
And pushing them away.
Right.
Definitely.
Right.
Now, self-care people treat it as if it's a luxury. It's a need. It's not just, like you said, the artificial stuff, the outward stuff. Like, you need to take care of your mental. You need to take care of your health. You need to take care of your spirit, your emotions.
Right.
Like, those are needed things, especially in the world that we live today. Like, you have to make sure you're balanced across, that plane to operate fully. Because if not, if you're lacking in one area, you're going to lack across the board, because you're not going to give yourself what you need in one aspect or another. So it's very important. I want people to take the luxury part out of it, like you said, self-care Sundays and Saturdays and look more eternal, look deeper. Like you said, look in the mirror. Like, am I okay? Talk to self. Am I good? Am I balanced? Balance is a big word. Like, we need to be balanced in all areas of lives. You have to find your center in everything that you do.
Yeah. I know at one point, like now I'm more intentional with self-care, but I know at one point I wasn't so intentional. I wasn't a good friend to myself. I wasn't as intentional with myself as I am. And of course, that reflected in my relationships. It reflected in my parenting. It reflected literally everywhere I can think of. And because it reflected in those ways, of course, if I'm looking at these people and I'm around these people and I'm seeing what's going on and what I'm doing, it's reflecting right back to me.
Right.
So it's even more is making me feel bad. It's making me, be hard on myself. So, and that was literally, honestly, if I had to put a time frame on it, that was like last year. When I really didn't feel so good about myself and when I was being hard on myself and not being a good friend of myself. Now I know and I understand, like, yo, you can't go out into this world and you can't speak to people and uplift them and you're not doing it to yourself, because at one point that's what I was doing. Not to say I didn't mean the things that I was saying, because a lot of the times at that time when I would go and speak to people and uplift them, it came from a place of not wanting them to feel how I feel. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of times people be like, oh, practice what you preach. And it's not that I'm not practicing what I'm preaching. I don't want you to feel how I feel.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I want to talk to you and I want to, give you what I got. But now I understand, like, you have to practice what you preach, not only because of the actual saying, but because if you're out here and you're talking to people and you're attempting to uplift them, guess what? When you get back home and you by yourself and you don't have nobody doing that for you, you gonna feel so bad.
Right.
You're
That's
gonna
very
feel
true.
drained.
Right.
Question. All of us here are pretty prosperous. How much time are you guys spending with self-care?
With self?
Individually, yeah.
Prior to this past week, I do try to give myself at least an hour a day.
A day?
A day, yeah, at least an hour a day, like first thing in the morning.
What about you?
Sometimes my routine is interrupted, for sure.
It's because you work until 5 o'clock in the morning.
No, for real.
Let's not talk about it.
Yo, hey, don't put me on blast. But guys, that's not all the time. But
You seen the laugh.
yo, relax.
It's not all the time.
No, but I do make time. Like, I'll take walks. Yo, you're judging me right now.
Not judging,
With
it's
good
out of
intentions.
concern. Right, there you
No,
go.
I take walks.
To the kitchen.
I meditate from time. Like, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Recently, my self-care routine has been pretty trash. It has. It hasn't been consistent, and I'm not here telling everybody to practice self-care and not do it myself. This is something that, even speaking, I need to receive. Because I want to be the love that I want to receive. So I know I got to do better in that department.
With me, I feel like, okay, y'all might not agree with this, but I feel like we're always practicing self-care.
I disagree.
It's just, I feel like sometimes it's intentional and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's conscious and it's subconscious. So like, for example, I have my days where I'm not so intentional with self-care. However, when I'm getting in my car and I'm driving and I'm listening to my favorite songs, that's a form of self-care. Might not intentionally be thinking like, oh, I'm doing self-care right now, but it is a form of self-care. When I am out somewhere and I just randomly, I might not even be dancing full out, I might just be hitting like a mean little two-step. That's a form of self-care. I'm not intentionally thinking like, oh, this is self-care, but it is a form of self-care because it makes me feel good.
Right.
When I'm riding my motorcycle, that's a form of self-care because for me, driving is a form of meditation. So when I'm able to ride in my car or if I'm able to ride on my motorcycle, like that's a form of self-care. So a lot of the times we don't acknowledge those small steps of self-care because in those moments we're not being intentional. But I think that's like the most beautiful part of self-care is when you're naturally doing it. Because when sometimes being intentional can be sometimes a little more stressful. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes when you're able to just naturally just do things a certain way and just let it flow, that's a form of self-care.
No,
I like
I
that.
agree. I agree.
Proceed,
I agree.
brother.
No, I agree with that.
No, I'm glad that you
Finally
brought up
agree.
those small things. No, I am glad that you brought up those small things because people don't acknowledge those small things, you know, as self-care. Listening to your favorite song. I mean, me spending time with nephew, watching our
Right.
favorite cartoon together, you know, is self-care. What you say?
What you say?
Me taking this sponge out my pocket because I know I'm shining. It's
Okay,
hot.
dab it.
Yes.
Just get it.
Let me help
Get it
myself
all.
out. But all of those small things, you know, are self-care. We need to stop looking at this like big picture on what it is, on what, you know, social media puts it out to be and whatnot, and really reflect on those small things and appreciate those small things when we do unintentionally do so.
Amen.
I agree with that, and I think when you said that, it reminded me at a place I was in last year when I was kind of going through like a stage of depression, you know, and I couldn't enjoy the little things anymore. Like anybody that knows me knows I love Sade, right? And like Sade is a move. It's like a mood shifter for me. Like I play some Sade and I'm just
Sweetest taboo.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We still had this great debate. Anita Baker or Sade? I'm gonna let y'all handle that one.
Y'all comments, put it in.
I'm going with Sade all day, but during that stage of depression and like really not liking who I was, I really didn't like me, I couldn't even listen to music.
Ooh.
I couldn't even listen to music. I wouldn't play music. I wouldn't watch like any of my favorite shows. I wouldn't watch basketball. I wouldn't play
You
basketball.
just sat in it.
I just sulked in misery.
Wallowed.
In a sense, because I didn't feel like I deserved it. And then when people did show me love, I wasn't able to receive love.
Right.
And it was just those very little minute, like the small things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the small, like I'm in my car and I wouldn't play music. And it's like, what's wrong? And you know that's where you play anything.
Right.
There was a girl that was
The
like,
music hit different in the car.
He's like, I'm not cute.
Right. And honestly, you can't
be cute.
And it's crazy. You can't even accept compliments.
Yeah,
when you're
no,
not loving
really.
yourself. Yeah,
Really.
definitely.
You can't even accept compliments. You can't accept anything. And I believe that we were designed to love.
Oh, definitely.
And the first love that starts is first love with self.
Right.
You know, because as a child, you see everything around you and you love that, but then you become in love with your own identity. And during that time, I didn't like who I was. I didn't like who I was to the point where I didn't want to be here. You know what I mean? And it really came to having like a real conversation with God and really coming deep into myself through introspection. Like, what are these things you don't like?
Right.
And how do you cut those off? Because I do believe there's times in our lives we will be challenged.
Definitely.
Especially during a period of transition, and you have to let things go.
Man, that process be crazy.
Yeah.
But it's worth it though.
Yeah.
It's a scary process, but it's worth it though.
Yeah. It was a pause for real.
So how did self-care look for y'all like when COVID, the pandemic first started and everything? Did we lose ourselves?
No.
Did we stay? You didn't?
Less showers for sure.
Yeah.
Keeping the book.
Aaron about to come for you.
No, I stayed
I
in
ain't
the
saying
house.
anything. Y'all say y'all ain't brush y'all teeth.
First of all, we did not say that.
First off.
Y'all didn't say y'all did.
No.
Anyways, for me, when COVID hit, I don't know, like COVID for me was not that challenging. Like it wasn't that difficult. Like it really wasn't. Like during COVID, like for the most part, I was good. The only thing I didn't like is that I like couldn't hang out with people.
You had
but like,
Marcellus.
I mean, yeah, and we definitely utilized that time. Like I have a video of him meditating. We went outside, meditated. That was when they were talking about doing like that mass meditation or whatever. So we did that together. Like we did a lot of activities and stuff, but I can't say that I was like depressed and feeling sad during that time. Naturally, of course, did I have moments where I was in my feelings about things? Yes, but it wasn't because of COVID. It was just in general things. But you know, I made sure I went outside as much as possible. I made sure I was having conversations with Marcellus, like just different things. Yeah. Like COVID was needed in a lot of ways. Like that time it was needed to see how my interactions with people, like pretty much the impact that it had as far as me interacting with people, because I like talking to people, I like being around people. I'm very extroverted in a lot of ways. So yeah, for the most part, that was the only way it did impact me, I guess.
I think, yeah, COVID-19, that's when my 12th hour really started. That's when I saw like the plane crash and I was in survival mode. I got hit in so many different directions because before I moved here, I started a nonprofit organization in Haiti. And because of the pandemic, I wasn't able to go to Haiti. I wasn't able to do the work that I felt like I was called to do. Our president was assassinated. George Floyd was murdered. And I felt like the world didn't like who I was, a black man. You know, and they said, don't come outside, because if you do, we'll kill you. So the pandemic definitely put me in a weird position in terms of like, I had to go back into myself and find purpose, find love. I wouldn't say that it didn't have an impact. It made me realize that, okay, the world has changed forever now. And who am I gonna become on the other side of that? Because the identity that I had before, I had to kind of grieve that identity. It's no more. It had to change. I had to kind of adjust it. So I think the pandemic definitely had an impact on my self-care routine, because it made me look at myself differently. It made me like garner up more strength, really. You know, in the midst of all that stuff that happens with the Black Lives Matter movement, with President Jovenel Moïse being assassinated, with our people, like seeing Haiti suffer and not being able to go there and help or be a part of that movement. It made me go, okay, what can I do here? What can I do now? How can I empower people from where I'm sitting right now, from what I'm doing right now? And I'm glad the pandemic happened, because it gave me time to reflect on a lot of things, especially my own identity.
I think overall, it gave the world time to reflect. But so for you, COVID was more so, I'm not gonna say that it had a negative impact on you, but what you felt during COVID was more so, it wasn't something that you necessarily wanted to feel in that moment.
No.
Okay. What about y'all?
Me, I enjoyed being in the house. I love being at home.
Yeah,
but unlike you, I did not go outside. So not, you know.
Were you scared?
No, I was not scared. No, I was not scared. I'm as protected, okay? But no, like not getting vitamin D, the sun.
You had to make sure you quickly emphasize.
Emphasis on the sun.
Emphasis on the sun. But
Somebody's
like,
son.
I know it started to affect my mental. It started to affect my mental, not going outside. But overall, like being at home, no, I enjoyed it. All the family time I could get with my sisters and my nephew and cooking in the house. But I started to feel a decline in my spirit when I wasn't going outside. So I changed that. I made it a routine. Before I started work, me and nephew would take walks around our neighborhood so I could get that fresh air or whatever. But overall, I think it was a good lone time, a good time of self-reflection, having to face myself on the things that I wasn't giving myself, and starting to give those things to myself, or forcing myself, because I know I needed it, because I wanted to. It was just a time of transition. I know it was in my life, especially I had just moved up here. So yeah, I just had to get rebalanced during that period.
See, with me, all of that happened before COVID, because I had went through like a really crazy like breakup. And so a lot of that happened before COVID for me. So I was already in that transition phase. Like, I had already cried as much as I could cry. I had already been so hard on myself, as much as I could be hard on myself. So by the time COVID got here, it was like, cool, I'm not around nobody. Like, I ain't got no choice but to be not to be around nobody, not to see nobody, you know what I'm saying? Because it was just one of those moments. So yeah, for me, COVID was just like, all right, like, have fun, be outside. Like, I can't say the energy during COVID was like different, because like I said, I was outside. Me and Big Sellers, we were outside walking around, driving, because like I said, driving is a form of meditation. So just riding around the city and like literally nobody's outside. It was like everybody was scared to be outside, and I think that was one of the biggest illusions of COVID. Why do you feel like you cannot be outside, which is where you need to be? What was crazy to me about COVID was, and even now, the mask mandate. It's like, we have to wear a mask 24/7, and in my mind, I was like, yo, aren't you breathing in your own oxygen? You're literally weakening your immune system more. So that's why I said, for me, COVID, it didn't have certain type of impacts on me. I guess it was a better impact for me, because it didn't make me feel sad. It didn't make me upset. It didn't make me feel like I was missing out on anything. It showed me, though, the illusion and the control that is on this earth. Oh, that's what it did. Now, that is the way that it impacted me. I'm like, dang, at any moment, this can be shut down. Crazy. And people do it.
People fall into line.
You
stay
like in the house. You stay, like, you're literally going in the house. It's like your mom and dad telling you to stay in the house, and you're gonna do it because you're being told to do it. So it showed me that in a lot of ways, but I was like, why are people staying in the house? And then when I did see people outside, I seen people outside jogging with masks on.
Oh gosh.
Why are you jogging with a mask on? You know what I'm saying?
Did y'all see those
I
people?
don't get too deep.
You saw the people in the car? They in the car by themselves with masks on. With all the windows up.
With the mask on. Why you got mask on? But,
he was wild.
To each
we
his
digress.
Own. Whatever make you feel safe. You know, whatever make you feel safe, that is entirely up to you. But for me personally, I was like, a lot of this don't make sense.
Yeah, a lot of it still doesn't make sense, the state of the world today. But I think the number one thing that we need to keep in mind is to be love, to receive love, and to give love.
Definitely.
And the only way we can do that is by, holding ourselves more accountable. I'm gonna hold you accountable, you hold me accountable, to practice self-love.
Till you go to sleep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, making sure that we check in with our people, check in with our folk, to just make sure, like, man, are you good? Are you okay? Are you taking care of yourself? Right. And it's okay to ask those things, I think mental health has also become a buzzword along with self-care. And I think it is important to make sure that the people around us, the people that we love, for sure, the people that are mirrors in our lives, that we're making sure that they take care of themselves. Because we should be able to sense that something is off. And like, I love you guys,
Me too, man.
And you guys, because of you guys, you make me want to be that much more intentional about myself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I just hope that we continue to hold each other accountable and continue to practice love, because I think that's what God designed us to do. So I want to toast to that.
Man, one thing about us, we gonna let each other know.
Right.
Straight up.
Yeah, you better that.
Dang, y'all can meet me halfway. I'm all the way over here.
Come on.
Scratch. All right, self-love.
You guys.
Peace.
Tunnel vision inside, cause you're just not right, though it feels so right. Maybe if these things were different from all, can't help but fall, baby. It's just not fair, cause we seem to be the same.
Thanks for watching the 12th Hour. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And also hit that notification bell. See you next time.